I did start the book.
Good. You
Hey,
get credit for
that's
starting.
pretty good, right? I have so many fun questions. Jeannie has so many fun questions. Jeannie read the whole thing.
Thank you, Jeannie. And thank you for starting
Welcome.
that.
The minimum amount a man can put into something, they get
That's
more
all we
credit.
expect.
I'm Jeannie Villette Bowerman,
And I'm Kira Duggan.
and you are listening to The Story Will Save You. I
Uh,
am fascinated because when I read the book, I read it pretty quickly. It's a quick read and a fun
Thank
read.
you.
So I took some notes while I was reading,
I love
and
it.
I've got this one note, and I don't know why I put this down.
What is it?
Do dead people watch you shower?
I know why. There's a book called Do Dead People Watch You Shower by
Oh, is
Conchetta
that what?
Bertoli. Yes. And so I put that book along with a few other books in the little free Afterlife library because
Okay.
oh no, I didn't put it in the Afterlife library. I put it on in a bookstore where the best friends were looking, and she was and Salome, my main character, was saying, "Why isn't this in our free Afterlife library?" So that's where you got
Yes,
that weird question because it's the most genius book title.
it really is. And we should probably catch people up a little bit, okay?
Okay, go.
Because they're like, what the hell is Jamie talking about?
We can start over if we need to.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
We like to just be rando.
Okay, good.
Um, so first, everyone, this is Amy Scher. She's
Hi.
fantastic. I know this is mostly audio, but okay to anyone.
Okay. Yes, I like to win.
In the future, who if we ever decide to put these videos up.
Yeah.
they
Um,
both waved. I'll do the visual
There you
narration so
go.
people
You did
understand.
the narration.
Yeah.
that would be great, Matt. You're good at that. So Amy wrote
Jeannie
this.
rolls eyes. Anyway, it's good.
I did not. Okay, so Amy wrote this book called The Unexpected Afterlife of Salon Rose. And Amy has, up until this point, been a nonfiction writer. And so this is your first fiction, correct?
This is my first fiction, and hopefully not my last, despite how difficult it was to write. We'll see.
So
Why was it difficult? I'm gonna cut Jeannie off now, as we typically do, back and forth.
now Jeannie rolls eyes. Go ahead.
Now, Jeannie. Now, both women on the podcast roll eyes.
Right. Hey, listen, this is my only question. Minimal effort. But why was it so hard to go from nonfiction to fiction? Because your nonfiction book, which is brilliant, by the way, it's called
Thank you.
how I, well, I'll let you
This
talk
is how
about
I
it later.
saved my life.
This
This
is
is
how I
how I
saved my
saved
life.
yeah.
Yeah.
And can we just say how I know you two from so long ago
Sure.
when I
Yes.
was the winner of the 2020?
Amy is the book pipeline adaptation winner from, I believe it was 2020.
I
She was
think
a
it was
pandemic
2020.
winner. Yeah.
I was a pandemic winner.
Her memoir is, I'm biased, but it really is brilliant and riveting and a wonderful story.
Thank
Uh,
you.
so I'm a little surprised that it took you a little bit of a hurdle to go to fiction because the memoir, I know it's true, but it reads like fiction in the way it's structured and how compelling it is, and all that.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. It was very hard for me to write fiction. I almost didn't write fiction the entire 10 years I was trying to write fiction. But I think I just didn't know how to do it. Like I remember when I finished my first draft and I ended up having to hire an editor because I was trying to get a literary agent, and an agent said to me like, this isn't ready. It's a great concept. I would love to look at it again, but it's not ready. Like you need to work with an editor. And I sent it to an editor and she was so sweet, but she said at some point after we were friends and we'd been working together for a while, she said to me, like 55,000 words and three characters is not really a novel. And I was like, it's not. How long does it need to be? How many characters do I have to have? And she was like you should try to get to like 80,000 words or 90,000 words. And I was like, no, I can't write anything else. I'm done. And she was like, no, which is exactly why I needed an editor. But I think coming from nonfiction, I wrote what was true and I wrote my perceptions or my reflections about that. And it was really easy for me. I wrote five nonfiction books prior to this, and it comes very naturally to me. I don't think
mhm.
any book is easy, but it comes naturally. This deviated from my personality because I'm not like I was never the kid like with the imaginary friend. Like I'm a middle child, I'm a Virgo, I'm a perfectionist. Like I never was and I'm not that person who's like, "Oh, yay, I get to make everything up." So this was inspired by a true story and my flaw here was that I was trying to fictionalize the truth. And what I really needed to do was take the inspiration of the true story and then write a fiction book. And I was staying too close to the real things. And that doesn't often make a great fiction book, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. I can
Right.
relate to that because as somebody who's attempting to write historical fiction, there's all these real things that happen, but you're like, okay, I keep saying to myself, but Jeannie, this is historical fiction.
Yes. And some of us have a hard time having fun. What can I say? It's
Well,
like,
you are a Virgo. And
I'm
so
such a Virgo. I'm a poster child Virgo. And I most like that in my work. Like I am a Virgo workaholic. Everything has to be right. I can feel if something's slightly off. I can't leave my computer until I fixed it. Like it's really, I think in the end, it probably served my book, but it almost killed me while I was writing it.
that also sounds like Matt. You're not a Virgo, are you?
Yeah.
Let's talk astrology for a second. Do you know what you are, Matt?
Oh, well, everyone should know what they are. I'm an
They should.
Aries.
An Aries, like my wife. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I could see that. Okay, I could see that. And Jeannie?
Oh my God. Just like on cue, you can't hear it, but there's this huge thunder crack that just went
I
off.
can't hear it.
Good. Okay. I am a Leo.
A Leo. Happy
I
birthday
am-
season.
Thank you. My birthday was just the other day. I'm on the cusp of Cancer, so I'm not like full-blown
Full
ego
Leo.
Leo. Like
That's good.
yeah, I'm not like,
Okay.
but my husband is a Virgo, so I'm very familiar with the
You
whole
are.
perfectionist.
You know it well.
I
You know
feel
it
that
well.
I'm not a perfectionist. Why would I be a Virgo?
Oh, well,
You
when
don't-
she was talking about the
That was
you and I
sarcasm. I'm clearly of the Virgo breed. A Virgo's what month to what month?
September. So September.
Oh.
So it's right after my birthday. My birthday is September 20th. And right after that, we go to Libra. And Leo is most of August and part of September. So it's like Leo, Virgo,
a little bit
Libra.
of July.
Yeah,
I don't
a
know that
little
much
bit
about
of July.
astrology, but I've been told that Virgos and Leos match with Aries somehow.
Oh,
Yes,
well,
I'm a
balance
Virgo
them.
and my wife is an Aries and it works perfectly.
Yeah.
well, then I have the perfect trifecta because my husband is Virgo and my work husband is an Aries.
I love it. You really do. You really do. That's so funny.
I'm your work husband?
Yeah, well, who else is there?
I guess there's no one else, really.
And my character is a Taurus. I made my character a very specific sign too to sort of like match her journey.
So what made you think, okay, so now let's get back to the book.
Yes,
Enough
okay.
of us. So
Whoa.
what made you think of adding that layer of astrology to her, like what she was?
There wasn't a ton, but there was a little bit. And the reason I did it was because I think our journeys sometimes are indicative or reflective of our birth sign. Like I think that that's true. Like when I look at my life, I'm like, wow, I like really am a Virgo. Some of this is not my fault. Like I just like that's just part of my journey. And so I thought it would be interesting if, and just to like back up for a second, my character is in the afterlife because she's died. And when she lands there at 17 years old, she finds out that she was murdered. And all of her, or many of her characteristics and reactions that happen on the other side are, of course, part because she's dead and she's 17 and she reacts how everyone would. But her resistance to her journey of growth is very much Taurus, not by any fault of a Taurus, but just they can be stubborn. They don't take no for an answer. Like all the great things about Tauruses can make their lives harder. All the great things about all of the signs can make our own lives harder. And so I weave that in because I mean, I'm not crazy into astrology, but I definitely know the sun signs. And I think, this is a young adult novel. And I think a lot of young adults are really into that. And I thought that it would just be an interesting thing to add.
Yeah, they totally are. Like I know my daughter is expecting, but when she was leading up to, she was thinking, well, if I get pregnant now, this is going to be such and such a sign.
That's what they do. That's what
they do. They really, they do. They're into it.
Or
man.
like based on your sun sign, like you like don't take a job, you like wait on a job offer to make sure that's the right timing and like all kinds of things like this. I mean, I come from like the self-help world. And so it's really funny because my agent often says like, oh, like we're having an auction for like another book, but it's not till Friday because the author wanted it like that day because in numerology, that number means whatever. And it's like, bless him for being so patient, but like right with it's just like a lot of people follow that and it helps us, I think.
They do. And you know what? No judgment. Whatever gives you peace, whatever makes you happy.
Exactly.
I'm feeling very old.
You're all good. Yeah. Hey, you knew what your sun sign was.
I did. I did.
Yeah,
Oh, because
you're good.
when I was the YA age, I was really into it.
Of course. See, you proved my point about why it needed to be in this book.
100%. So with this book, you have an agent for your nonfiction, and then did you have to get another different agent for this fiction?
So this is a funny story, and every writer listening should know this. So my agent only does nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so when I wanted to write this book and sell this book, he was like, I only do nonfiction. So I set off to get a fiction agent, and I could not get a fiction agent. It
Mhm.
was as if my track record and my sales history and my publications and accomplishments in nonfiction were completely erased. Nobody cared. And so at some point, I get really tired of it. And I was just like, I'm never going to find an agent for this. And I think I said to him, I really think you could be a fiction agent. And he said to me, no, no. I mean, he's been doing this for a million years, right? He used to
Mhm.
work at Penguin Random House, and then he started his own agency. And he's like, I've always worked in nonfiction. And I was like, no, I think you could do it. I think you could do it. And he was like, I don't know, kid. I don't know. And I was like, I think you could totally do it. And we basically decided he would do it, but I wouldn't hate him if he didn't. However, if he didn't sell it. However, I ended up selling this book myself. I ended up finding the publisher. He did the deal. He negotiated the deal and everything. But I found the publisher myself. It's a small publisher, and I submitted to them myself. And this must have been like August of 2023, maybe, or 2024. I submitted and
Mhm.
they actually rejected it. They said, we love this so much, but it doesn't quite fit within our like catalog, what we're focusing on. And I was like, okay. And then I like went off to try to find another publisher. And in the meantime, I had rewritten the book because I was working with an editor and I changed some things. And a year later, I went back to them and I said, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I haven't stopped thinking about you guys. I really love your books and your publishing, company, and I really love what you're doing. Is there any chance you'd be willing to take another look? And the publisher said, sure. It's funny because we've actually decided to expand our catalog. And then they bought it. And
Mm.
so I always tell the story
Mhm.
not to be like a crazy author that goes back to a publisher begging twice, but there have been many times in my life that I have had to ask for something twice, including getting my agent to agent the book, including getting this editor and publisher to read this book. And I think sometimes I mean, with all books, I think it's persistent. Like the people who
Mhm.
write books are the people who keep sitting down and trying to write the book, even that it doesn't, and when it doesn't work. The people who get them published, I think in large part are not married to a certain way that it's going to be published. And they're open to all avenues, and they're just trying to look for that opening, right? They're trying to look for that door that's cracked open that they can go through. And so, yes, I had to find a new agent, but no, in the end, I didn't find a new agent. My agent sold this, and then he also ended up selling the audio rights, and now we also have film TV interests. So the book that no agent wanted, it turns out, landed with the right one.
It's Tiny Ghost Press, right?
It is.
I mean, Tiny Ghost Teen.
Yeah, but they are Tiny Ghost Press, and then they have like a few imprints, and one of them is Tiny Ghost Teen. So you were good. You got it.
Right. Okay, good. I'm looking through their catalog and I'm like, okay, I get the type of stuff that they
Yeah.
published. And then I get to yours and it's like this cool, like almost literary sort of looking
It's
thing.
definitely different. I think they took
But I
a
love it.
leap.
It looks great. Yeah.
Thank you. I think they definitely expanded their horizons with my book. They basically publish queer focused books with a spooky twist, which is so specific. And
Right.
my book, even though it takes place in the afterlife, is not paranormal. It's basically a girl lands in an afterlife support group in an afterlife school auditorium. And it's essentially, Jeannie, you've read it. You think it's so grounded in real life. It's as if I took a high school on earth, picked it up and plopped it somewhere else. It has no
Mm-hmm.
supernatural element.
I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there's also, I like how you described it as a high school because there is this sort of goal of graduating.
Yes. Yes. They're all trying to get to their final destination, which is the infinite forever. They're trying to move on to the big infinite forever, which I call the big if, because they don't know for the entire book if they're going to get there. But it's definitely more speculative or, in that realm than ghosty like their other books.
Yeah, it didn't feel ghosty. I mean, I haven't finished it yet, but I didn't it
No,
doesn't feel ghosty to me at all. I do have a
no.
question though, in terms of like the marketing. How did you angle it in your pitch to really give it some separation from something like The Lovely Bones
Yeah.
or other books that, where the girl's dead and now like she has to figure out her murder? There's been other variations on it over the years.
Yes. So essentially, there were a couple of things that I did. One, this book is very, very funny. And while Lovely Bones was a
Hmm.
beautiful book, it was really heavy and really
Right.
serious.
Yeah.
This book, and it was paranormal in a way. The girl was floating above Earth, essentially watching what's happening. So this is more like the Gen Z Breakfast Club, but they're all dead.
Right.
So it's definitely a different vibe, like all
Yeah.
together. So that was one thing. The other thing was this was inspired by a true story. So this was inspired by the worst week of my life in 2011 when my dad died. And a few days later, my 22-year-old cousin was murdered.
Hmm.
And obviously a terribly tragic week for my family. And as we started to move on and sort of march on and just try to like get ourselves together to like prepare for my cousin's murder trial against the perpetrator and get over my dad's death and all of this, I started imagining like knowing what we were all doing because we were all like, how did this become our life? This is insane, right? This is like an insane week that just changed the trajectory of our entire world. These two really vibrant. These were the two like hams of the family, like just very,
Hmm.
very boisterous and fun people died like in these unexpected tragic ways. And so I knew what we were doing, but I started to imagine what my cousin might be doing. And I really just felt her being like, WTF. Like I figured she was just on the other side being like, oh no, oh no, whoever did this to me is done for. Like, and so I started to sort of imagine her in all her same personality somewhere else being like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna, yeah, this isn't gonna end this way. And so
Yeah.
that was one way that I differentiated the book was that publishing loves a good true story, even if it turns out to be fiction, even if the storytelling turns
Hmm.
out to be fiction. So I think that publishers, probably including Tiny Ghost, and then this book sold in a four-way audio auction with major publishers, were probably pretty interested in the real life story and the press that will come from it. And the relatability, I think the relatability, even though it's set in the afterlife, is and genial. I don't want to say that about my own book necessarily, but I meant to write it as a relatable story for anybody who has lost a loved one or has lost parts of themselves along the way and had to figure out how to answer life's greatest mystery of what happened, to make meaning of, to figure out, to make sense of what happened, no matter what that is in our life. And so I think like those were, and of course, I have a marketing background, as you both know. So I thought about these things
Hmm.
when writing a book. Like I wanted it to be a viable, marketable book in
Right.
addition to a good story.
Yeah.
I'm going to just go back a little bit. We're talking about nonfiction and writing fiction, but this
Yeah.
isn't just fiction, it's also a mystery. Like,
Yes.
to me, mystery, I have a lot of respect for mystery thriller writers because especially mystery, leaning mystery, because you're setting something up, you're trying to drop little clues, but you're trying to make
Yes.
them also figure it out and think in their head so that when you finally do the reveal, no spoilers, finally do the reveal, you say, "Oh, I see how they
Yeah.
planned
Yeah.
that." I mean,
Yeah.
I have so much respect for that kind of plotting. Was there something you did to prepare yourself? Were you just reading a ton of mysteries? Were you analyzing them? There was something you did to prepare? Because that's not just fiction. Now you're writing
Yes.
something.
Yes. So this was accidental. This was never a mystery until like the last maybe 8 months of writing it.
Mhm,
Because in the real life story, the perpetrator was arrested within hours. We knew who did it.
mhm.
We knew who did it.
Mm.
He was identified, found, and arrested in hours. So I actually wrote this story more as a coming of age. And in the original million versions, there was no mystery. The perpetrator was identified, found, and the mystery was, will she be able to move on? Will she be able to actually move on from this, like internally, and also through this sort of afterlife school and learn the lessons she needs to learn in order to like move on to her final destination? but because the book starts with a dead body, my editor at some point sort of said something like, well, this starts with a dead body and we don't know who did it right away. So it's not really a mystery, but it's not a mystery. And I think some of the problems we're having with the plot line is that it probably should be a mystery. And by the time this was suggested to me, I was so over writing this book because that's what happens. You've written like 50% of the drafts that you're going to have to write, but you think it's your final one, the 100th top. Like I thought I was done. And then I had to go back and make it a mystery because I knew that that's what it should have been. And if I thought that from the beginning, I never, ever would have written this book because it would have been too hard.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I had to change the whole storyline because essentially the perpetrator was identified in like the second chapter, and now it's like the last chapter, right? So, or the second to last chapter. So I had to rewrite it. I had to rewrite a ton of it, and then I went back and planted the clues. Like I wasn't able to do it as I went along. And it is a fine line. I do not know. I don't know how people did it. I mean, I did it once, but like, I don't know how people did it. I found absolutely no joy in it. I'm just going to be honest. I found absolutely no joy in it. It was
Well, it's
very
that
difficult.
feeling of you've already put all this effort into writing something, and then you have to go back and like do it all over again. And like it's like
Right.
painting a house, and you realize like, oh, it's supposed to be a different color.
Yeah. So you didn't put the like primer. But I was
Yeah.
talking to a writing group yesterday and I was saying, like, it's so interesting because that is the occupation of writing. Like the
Right.
occupation of writing is writing. And none of us seem to enjoy doing it. I mean, we do, but like it's so hard. But the occupation calls for the difficulty of writing and rewriting and writing. That is what our job is. And so I just sort of surrendered to that. I mean, my wife might say that I complained about it, but I think I complained while I surrendered and was just like, I'm going to have to rewrite this book as many times as I have to rewrite it until it's good. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
If I want this book to be published and I want to be proud of it, I have to keep rewriting it.
Yeah. So what's your writing routine like?
I'm actually one of the few writers I know that doesn't have a writing routine. I just sit down and I write every day. I don't light a candle. I don't have to have a certain coffee. I don't make any ritual. This is maybe a very Virgo thing. I don't make any work around my work. I don't make any stuff going on that I have to do. I don't have to have my pillow or a chair or I work like I exercise. I do it because I have to.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter if I don't want to that day. It doesn't matter if I don't have the right, exercise. I mean, I, I just sit down and I don't give myself a choice and I do it and I don't let myself waste too much of my time complaining about it. I just write.
And that's really interesting that you compare writing to exercising because that's exactly where I am right now. Like there were two things in my life I wasn't doing enough of: exercise and writing. And so I started an exercise routine. And one thing that they always say is the hardest part is coming to the mat. And it's the same thing with writing. The hardest part is opening your laptop. There you are but the difference between coming to the mat to work out and coming to the mat to write is that when you go to work out, you're just working out. When you open your laptop, I'll just check my work email. Maybe I'll just check Facebook. Maybe do you use like one of those apps that shuts things down?
No, I've used those, and then but I do check my email a billion times. Like I definitely check my email a billion times. But you know what? I'm still working. Like in today's day and age, if I'm doing anything, if I'm paying attention to anything, even if I'm, not fully paying attention, I'm pretty proud of myself. So I don't give myself too hard of a time, and I don't give myself a hard time about whether the writing is good or not. I just say that I need to write. Like the job at hand is to write and get some stuff on the page. Later, I'll fix it if it's not good, but I try not to raise the bar on the act of writing by making my writing too precious. So I'm just like, if I write every single day, then it doesn't matter if today wasn't good because I'm going to write again tomorrow. I'm not only writing once a month when I'm inspired. So I try to like take away the energy that we build around the practice of writing, needing the stuff, having a ritual, planning it out. Like I just make it like a habit, and then it loses some of its importance. And I say that in a positive way. When it loses some of its importance, it just becomes part of my life, and that's how I get writing done.
Mm-hmm.
Are you an outliner? Are you a pantser? Do you work the first draft? Is it just sort of like, I just want to get something, the whole draft on the page, and then I'll figure out how to fix it?
Yeah, so I normally outline for nonfiction, and I tried to do that for fiction, but it was a terrible failure because I realized that for fiction, I need to write into knowing what to write. So what I ended up doing that worked was I would write a chapter and then I would sit and ask myself, what needs to happen next to get to make
Right.
this story move? So then I would plan chapter 2 or have an idea of like what came after chapter 1. After chapter 2, I would be like, what needs to happen in chapter 3? I kind of knew where I was getting to, but it certainly did not work for me to outline. What happened to me was I became obsessed with my outline, and I spent hours and hours and hours and hours trying to perfect my outline. And I think it was all for a lot of nothing because, the best plans are not good because when you write, you think of something new or you realize something you thought was brilliant is actually terrible. And so I felt like that was the way for me to go. It's just like plan the next step ahead, and that's it.
We were talking to somebody recently. Who was it that we were talking to? We interviewed her on the podcast.
Joyce Carol Oates.
Oh, she's great.
It
I love
wasn't
her.
Joyce Carol Oates.
Oh, I was like,
we
you
did not
did
interview
it.
Joyce Carol Oates.
You
But I might.
should.
This
She's
reminds me
lovely.
of what she was. I can picture her face. She was at Thriller Fest.
Oh my gosh, there's so many blondes.
Courtney Pazak.
Courtney Pasak. That's it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Courtney, if you're listening to this. But your advice stuck with me. She was talking about that first draft and just kind of like, just write something like, okay, this chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter whatever, like, okay, this is what I want to happen in this chapter. And then, okay, what needs to happen next? Put some thoughts, random stream of consciousness thoughts down about that chapter. So it's kind of end up like an outline, but it also ends up a little bit more because she's allowing herself the freedom to sort of discover the chapter, but not get obsessed with word choice, prose, line
Yes.
editing, nothing like that.
I think that's a great approach. I also think you're all maniacs, and I do the complete opposite. But that is the joy of personal preference when it comes to writing.
Everybody gets to do it their way.
I always think, what if I die, 3 minutes later and someone sees my body and I'm laying there, charmingly somehow, but like I'm laying there dead
I'll
and
get
they
the
look
chalk.
at they look at the book I was writing, like, this sentence is terrible. I can't live with that thought.
They're
So
going
I
to know
have
it
to
was your
make
first
sure.
draft.
No, they won't know. They'll just see a dead
You will.
body and
You'll mark it first draft.
weird word repetition sense. Yeah, first draft if I die.
I
Yeah.
think it's interesting because I don't think you can make it good until you've gone through many iterations. Like I tell
Sure.
my writing students when I teach writing, I teach that if you're trying to edit something 5 minutes after you've written it, you're probably not that much wiser. You've had no space. You're not any smarter. You
Mhm.
haven't read any more books. You haven't
Right.
taken another craft class. Like you know nothing more than you did 5 minutes
Right.
ago. So I feel it's a waste of time, even though feels very nice and productive. What I think makes sense is to write it badly and then come back as a new person. Even if it's a week later, you're totally different a week later and see it a week later. And that's when you can
Yeah.
make it better. You can't make it that much better the same day you made it bad. That's just my personal opinion.
That's if you're not in
I
the right
agree.
headspace, or if you are taking the approach of like, I'm just going to write every day, because I don't write.
Yeah.
I don't really write every day. I'm also not making this my career, so that's different. But
Yeah. But you have
I
the
have to be in the
space.
mood. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I want to be in the mood. And if I'm in the mood, then usually my first draft isn't going to end up really that bad. I think your method is actually probably better, generally speaking, though.
I think whatever works, whatever makes people
Yeah.
write. I mean, I used to write only when I was in the right mood to write. And that's why I
Right.
realized it takes 10 years to write a book.
Yeah.
Because for this fiction book, I didn't have a deadline because I was just writing it and then I would have to sell it. All my other books, I have my 7th book coming out with Hachette next year. All those 6 books were written on proposal only. And
Mm.
so when I had to go write the book, I had to write it to deadline. And when you write to deadline, there are no days you feel inspired. You just have to write because you need to pay your mortgage or whatever. And so
Right.
I feel like that's good when you have to write because it doesn't take very long. Like it really only takes 3 months to write a book. I know that sounds controversial because I'm somebody
No, totally.
who's taken 10 years, but that's only because I had 10 years. When people say, how long does it take to write a book? I say exactly as long as you have. I've had 3 months to write a book and I've had 10 years and I've taken the max days on both.
It's not around anymore, but NaNoWriMo proved to you that you
Yeah.
could write a book in a month. I wrote a book
Yeah.
in a month.
Well, you could write
Maybe not
50,000
a good
words
one.
in a month. And I did it too, wrote a vomit draft of something that I did the pantser version. I had no
Yeah.
outline, whatever, and
Right.
I was using it to just discover the characters and and the story wildly went in a direction I never thought it would. But then at the end of it, this is where I struggled. The end of it, I had 50,000 words of crap.
Yeah.
And
I've been there.
and then I was just so overwhelmed looking at this crap that the next time I did Nano, I said, and I did finish that book. I never tried to sell it, but that one I said, you know what? I don't care about the word count. I'm going to try to write something that's decent. So even if at the end of the month I just have 20,000 words, I've got
Yeah.
20,000 decent words. And then I
Yeah.
kept
Mhm.
going with that. So I'm not a big believer in focusing on quantity of words. Like
Yeah.
that was just a disaster
Yeah.
for me.
I think that makes sense. I mean, you have to write consciously, right? You have to write
Mhm.
with the idea that you could use a lot of it. You have to write thoughtfully. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes the word count per day goals are like good for like, right, lowering the bar, just like write. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. But I think that's why when I kind of figure it out, oh, as I go along, I need to think about the next chapter. I don't need to think about
Mhm.
the whole book at once, but I also can't not think about the whole book at all and just write what I think, or I'm going to have a really bad time editing. I think
Right.
everybody finds their way to do it.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you too about like we're talking about stream of consciousness writing. The book itself feels a little like a structured stream of consciousness, right?
Yes.
Especially the style that you wrote it in, and I'm wondering if you got pushback from the editor on that style, where there's no capitalization in I
Yeah.
think anywhere.
So I wrote it like my teenage niece and nephews write to me with
Yes, right.
all all lowercase. No, I suggested this idea to my editor,
Uh-huh.
and who's also the publisher, and he loved it and said, "Let's do it," which is one of the most amazing things about going with a small press. Because
Mhm.
there is absolutely no way that any of the big five that I have worked with would have let me do anything
No.
like that, as much as I loved them. In fact, before I found this publisher, it was after I found this publisher, we decided to try to sell the rights to the North American rights, because my publisher's in the UK. They do distribute here, but my agent was like,
Mhm.
let's see if we can sell the North American rights essentially here. Like maybe a Penguin Random House will buy. Editors were freaked out by that. They were like, oh, they just didn't know what to do. They were like, I think mainstream publishing gets very nervous about anything that's out of the box.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's fair enough.
It
Like
was
this is a business. Maybe they're afraid they're going to lose money. This is no judgment on them. But I was only able
yeah,
to do
it's
this, I think, because it was published by my publisher, who just went, that sounds cool. Let's do it. It was like,
right.
okay,
It's the lack of risk taking in corporate culture,
yeah,
essentially.
I
Yeah.
think
Studios just
that's
do the
fair.
same thing in film, right? That's why when I was reading it, I'm like, this is very much a fringe press, the publishing company. Like
Yes,
we
yes.
co-own that type of book where we like, yeah, it's cool, just do it.
Do
Because
something cool.
you have handwritten pages, like the
Yeah.
image of the handwritten pages,
Yeah.
peppered throughout, which I
Yeah.
liked. It breaks up the
It breaks
story and
up the
gives you something
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
visual interest now in the text.
Yeah, definitely. And I did a poll, like I did a survey before I suggested this to my publisher, and
Hmm.
like most of my adult friends were nervous about this, like all lowercase. And just to be clear for our listeners, there is punctuation. Like I'm not a monster. There's
Yeah. This isn't
punctuation,
one long
but it's
sentence.
not it's not sentence case. So it's like very much like how a teenager would text you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then my character, Salon Rose, is essentially trying to work out her own murder by like scribbling in her journal. So then
Mhm.
there's journal entries. And I wanted to do something different. Like, listen, I've been writing nonfiction in the same way for years and years, and I just wanted to like shake things up with this book. And I was really lucky that the publisher said yes, but it made everybody else nervous.
Yeah.
And to me, as soon as I saw the style, I was like, oh, this is like James Fry, Million Little Pieces,
Mm.
And
Oh, right.
which I loved that book.
I
I didn't
forgot
care
about
that
that
he
book. Yeah,
I
I
didn't
loved
care
it
that he
too.
fictionalized some of it. I
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was great. Definitely reminded me of that. And then the journal entries, which is exactly what a teenager would do.
Yes.
I have this tiny little paperwhite Kindle that I was reading.
Oh my gosh, that's tough.
So I know, but I wanted to know what was in her journal. So I took like a picture of it so I could blow it up on my phone so I could really see what it was. I didn't want to
We
miss
have to get you
anything.
a real book. We have to get
I
you
am. I just
a
didn't. I
paperback.
wanted to
Yeah.
get the book quickly so I could read it. But
Yes.
You'll get a
but I
real book one day, Jeannie.
She deserves
I will get the real book.
it.
When I see Amy and I'll have her sign it.
Yay, I can't wait. I can't wait.
I already have a signed art copy, not to brag, but I do have it.
Jeannie's
I was going
getting
to ask
it.
you too. Yes, well, as she should.
My
Who
eyes
did
are
the cover
rolling
art?
again.
So the cover art, so the publisher did the cover art. I think that's a stock image that
Oh,
they might have treated it. I'm not sure. But the publisher did it. The publisher did it. They first presented me with another cover that I wasn't crazy about. And I went back to them and I just said, I don't really love this cover. And they were like, and this was also another thing with a small press. They were like, totally understand. We want you to love your cover. Like, let us come up with something new. And I sort of gave them some ideas and they came up with that. And I just felt like I would show it to everybody, but they can't see it. But I just felt like it was right. Like it's not cheesy, like afterlife. It's like it feels really like mature and cool. And it just, I really love the cover.
yeah.
And they were, I've worked with bigger publishers that like, I had this one cover that had like these weird little designs in it. And like, I asked the publisher to just remove these weird little designs, but leave everything else. It was almost like they had these like speckles in like thrown in certain areas of the book cover. Like it was
Mhm.
like an accent. It wasn't like, I didn't ask for a change of color. I didn't ask for I just was like, can you just remove those like four little weird like splotches that don't look like they belong there? And the publisher came back a few days later and they were like, well, we've had a meeting about it. And unfortunately, we've decided not to remove them. And I was like, really? You're going to make me hate my cover over four splotches? But like they'd had a vote on it. It was like a whole thing. And this wonderful small press was like, we want you to love your cover. Let us take another stab, and came up with this beautiful cover. And then I asked if we could change the way that the positioning of the title was over my main character's face. And they were like, of course. And they played around with it like 500 different ways for me. So like, I
Mhm.
love how like, and I mean, I know it's not just small press versus big press, but it's been really nice to be with a smaller press for my first nonfiction or for my first fiction book because I felt
Mhm.
so like safe in the creation process. Like they really want me to love it. And I love that.
Yeah. That's good.
One
You
thing
don't
I
see
was
that
thinking,
often.
No,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Jeannie.
One thing that I was thinking about when I was reading, like going back to the actual story,
Yeah.
um, when you had that, now it's been a couple weeks since I read it, and I have a terrible memory in terms of characters' names and stuff like that. But
I'll help you
the old
go.
guy who was
Mr.
there, the
Eck,
kind of
who's their school psychologist.
yes. So I thought the questions that he was asking them were really interesting, like for them, and that's part of the whole coming of age of getting them to know themselves and getting them to explore themselves internally. It's like if and helping them evolve as like, are they people when they're ghosts? I don't know,
Yes,
but
they're
helping them
people. They're people.
evolve. And those, I also felt like I wrote a couple things down, like that these are also like good questions to ask your characters when you're creating them,
Mm,
um like what are you afraid of and what are you grieving about in your life, like
mm.
those would be really good telling questions to ask your characters.
I love that. I wish you would have told me while I was doing this because I had such a hard time with character development that I could have used that. But now I love that my character has posed this question for future characters. That I think you're right. It's really hard to write dialogue and backstory if you don't know some of these things about your characters. And I think some of these like group therapy reflection questions and conversations actually helped me figure out who my characters were because I needed to figure out what they would say to answer these questions, right?
Yeah, I'm imagining plotting the story out because in case you guys haven't picked up on it yet, she's dead. She's in this afterlife kind of limbo
Support
state.
group, yeah.
Right. There's a support group. So when you think about like what kind of action can you give dead people
Yeah.
to do,
Yes.
to keep the story moving forward, there was more than just the group therapy. There was a whole other, it was literally like a whole other world there, and dynamics and relationships with each other. And they're all kind of there together, trying to also figure out why they're there together, why they were chosen to be together. Like to help each other. I like how you say Breakfast Club, like, because it is very much like that.
Yeah, and I also they have the ability to look through this giant telescope called Telly to see what their loved ones are doing on Earth. They can't communicate with them or necessarily influence them, but I had these sort of dual storylines where the kids in the afterlife are doing one thing, and then everyone at home is also trying to figure out how to move on and how to figure out what happened and make the pieces make sense. So, I think I tried to balance a couple of worlds there to keep momentum because they had to do something, right? They had to have their life in the afterlife, but they're also all keeping tabs on their family and friends at home. And all the drama that's going on there too.
How do you make a dead person active?
It was a question that I pondered many times. The original draft of that book, she wasn't in an afterlife support group. She was just sort of like watching and floating. And then that didn't work because it was like, right, what is she going to do? Except for watch everybody at home. And I didn't want her to just do that.
Yeah.
I wanted her to continue the journey she had on Earth and like finish, like complete whatever she needed to, and like still have a life, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's just so many ways you could have spun this story. You could have made it genre like you did. You could have made it literary where, it does, maybe that was more of your original version where there is no crime element per se.
Yes, that's what it was. It didn't work though.
Yeah. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. When I was reading it, I thought it was going to go in the direction of like, she actually didn't die young. Her afterlife is like her like best self basically, but she actually lived a full life. So she's seeing herself like, kind of live out, but I'm like that's more literary too.
It's a totally different book, Matt.
I told this to Jeannie before and I'm like, I know it's a different book, Jeannie. I'm just saying.
But this is what he thought it could be. This is what he thought it could be.
I'm not saying it should be that.
But that's the fun part about when you're reading a book. Like when you first start, you're not really sure the ride you're going to go on. And
it's the whole point of, you don't want to know the ride you're going on. If you know the ride you're going on, what's the point of reading it?
Yeah. Do you try to, Matt, I'm gathering that you try to figure out the ride you're about to go on instead of just enjoy the ride?
Yes, probably. I don't know. I enjoy the ride. I mean, I've read so many scripts this month because we're doing the final judging for Script Pipeline. Yeah, I don't mind spoil. Like, I want to know where it's going because I care more about the execution and how we get there rather than like the big shocking reveal. Because the big shocking reveal is temporal, right? For all the great movies and books that we've consumed, the twist only works one time, right? Sorry, I thought of a sci-fi movie where maybe you can like erase parts of your memory so that you can experience things new for the first time. There's your next book.
I'm sure that's been done.
Well, you'll find a cool YA twist on it.
Yes.
But you revisit them because of the ride, not how unexpected the twists and turns were, right? So I'm more of a execution person. What I appreciated though about this one is that it's so voicey. And it's like reading a journal. It's not told in journal format, but it's very much like reading a personal journal. And all the little things that you peppered in. I'm so glad your editor and the publisher let you do it and didn't
Thank you.
force you into that traditional sort of structure for it.
I may have been lucky in a way too, because it was my first fiction book. So nobody
Right.
expected anything of me. Like right
Right.
now I write nonfiction and I write primarily self-help. And it's like, I wonder if I would try to go rogue on my self-help. I don't know if a publisher would love that, because I have like a tried and true best-selling sort of like
Mm-hmm.
formula, And so maybe like when you start over in a new genre, even though it's scary and nobody wants you sometimes, you also can like experiment in a way that is hard to break out once you've been doing something a while.
Take the big swing. Write your next book in fifth person. It's
Oh
like you heard
gosh.
from somebody who told you in the future.
No more books right now. I'm
Okay,
taking I'm on a book break, but I will come back to you when I'm ready.
well, tell us about the next book you have coming out from Hachette, you said.
Yeah, so that book is called The Four Languages of Illness. It's a completely different book. And it's essentially my self-help work
Hmm.
around the mind-body connection and how our emotions and certain symptom patterns can direct us toward what we need to look at inside of ourselves about our lives. So for instance, for fatigue or for people who have pain or for people who have immune deficiency, what kind of emotional patterns I've tended to see over the years and years and years of working with clients and working in self-help. How we can sort of decode our symptoms to figure out
Mhm.
how to address some of the mind-body connections in illness. Totally different vibe.
Totally different,
Totally
but
different.
also not there's glimmers of like, listen, I've known you for a few years now, and
Yeah.
there's reading this work of fiction. I'm like, this is an Amy Scher book. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
can
think
just
it's an
tell.
Amy Scher book. I definitely
Yeah.
think, and like in my afterlife support group, they're using my techniques that are in my
Yeah.
self-help books. Like I was like,
Right.
oh,
They
my
even
20,
mention one of your nonfiction books in the fiction book
do
as a
they?
plug.
No,
No, they do not. I'm just
no.
kidding.
I was
That'd
like,
be great
wow.
if you wrote that in
I
the
was like,
fiction.
if that, yeah, I was like, if that got in there, oh, I would get such bad reviews. So in my first book called How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can, I got this horrible, horrible review on Amazon that said in the book, I kept mentioning a course I was selling, and it was laced with ads for my course. And of course, there was no course. I never had a course at the time of my book publication. I don't know what they were talking about. And therefore it was never mentioned in there. So God forbid I actually did try to promote something that existed.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how those Goodreads people would go after it.
Right.
That was an
So
Amazon review, but
will we get slaughtered for mentioning that in a podcast that Amy's teaching a symposium for us?
no,
No, it's
I
our
think that's
podcast.
fair. Yeah, you
Okay, I'm
get to
Yeah.
gonna
do
do a
what you
little
want.
commercial.
I
Doing a
can't
little
wait for,
commercial.
I really can't do the commercial. I'm very excited for this.
Me too. Okay. It's in October
Yes.
21st, and it's right on our homepage on symposium.poplanartist.com. A book proposal coach's secrets to selling your nonfiction book. So super excited about this one. And it's a session that's going to be good for people who are writing all things, right? Not just
Yeah. I think the best way to know what you're writing is to write a proposal. Nonfiction proposals are specifically to sell nonfiction books. It's like a business plan. But I have writers of all kinds do it because it forces you to ask the questions that you should know before you try to sell any book. Like, who is my reader? What are my comps? What's going to be in the book? What's going to be accomplished? What skills do I have to sell the book? And so I really walk people through whether you actually need to do it or you want to do it so that your book is better. If you use a book proposal format to plan your book, you will be you will be weaving in the elements into your book that a publisher wants to see in order to publish a book. So
mm,
that's sort of my angle, is just make sure you have all the right things in your book because you planned those things first, and nobody needs to know what publishers want because I will tell you.
so question, since you
Yeah.
were the one pitching your own book, did
Yeah.
you write a nonfiction of a kind of proposal for this book, this fiction, your fiction?
I did plan it out that way in a document. I had like my
Mhm.
bio that was really tailored to this book. I had a marketing plan. And in fact, when we went to sell audio rights for this book, I wrote a new marketing plan, which goes in a book proposal. Cause I know it doesn't matter if it's fiction, nonfiction, publishers are impressed by a author who thinks like a business person. And
Mhm.
it's very rare to find an author that thinks like a business person. And it's no author's fault. We're writers, right? We want to do the fun part. But publishers are looking for business um, associates. They're looking for business partners. And so the language that you use when you share your book and your work and your bio and your plans, the language that you use matters. And so I basically teach people what language to use. So they're speaking the language of a business partner when they're approaching a publisher, whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
Very
That
smart. I like
that is what every writer needs, period, nonfiction or fiction, I would think.
Yeah,
I want to take that session, and
you should.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Join us.
I can get it for free, actually. Believe it or not.
We'll let you in,
I
Matt.
have
We'll
the
let you
login.
in.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
hope
it's
to
not
see.
much. We keep our prices low.
You do keep your
Right,
prices
right.
low. I've taught for a lot of places and they're very fair and you get a lot. And I'm going to give everybody a PDF to go home with so you have everything
Wow.
so you don't have to like take crazy notes and everything like that. But it's going to be a good class. So I hope to see a bunch
Oh,
of you
good.
in October.
Me too.
Do you have any
Yay.
questions for us, Amy? It's a new thing I'm doing on the podcast where I ask the guests if
Yeah, I
they
do. What are you writing, Matt? Give
um
us a log line
well
and then Jeannie, you're next.
My God, I
well
don't have a log line. It's
I'm the
too
late
complicated.
I'm the
Then
laziest
you need to take my class because part
I
of it is
know.
explaining your book in a couple sentences. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm the laziest querier of all time. So I have queried like 6 places, and I had like 2 full requests, and both of them gave me very nice and productive passes, I guess.
It
Um,
happens.
and they gave me feedback that I would have given my own book if I was a publisher
Yeah.
reading this book. So that's not a great sign, but also a good sign somehow. So I just started outlining a new, very commercial-esque book, but still a little offbeat. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Okay. And Jeannie, your historical fiction.
Yeah, historical fiction takes place in like the 1700s, and
Mhm.
it's about this guy who wrote an essay, true story, wrote an essay called On Crimes and Punishment about how the punishment should fit the crime. So there's kind of like 2 layers to it, like society, how society is changing from the beginning of the book. It's the Age of Enlightenment. By the end of it, it's just about when Napoleon comes. So very different trajectory of society at that time. But then in the family story, it's really a family dysfunction story, like a father, horrible marriage, daughter who then repeats the same patterns in that her parents did, and really dysfunctional relationship between the parent and child, and also that lack of self-love, and
Yeah.
what does one have to do before they can really love productively in the real world is really love yourself. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of family dysfunction that people will be able to relate to, even though it's in the 1700s. There's also a lot of feminist kind of undertones to it, because the French Revolution, there was a huge amount of women who really revolted and kind of birthed feminism. So the empowerment of women as well. So it's a little complicated.
Yeah, but I got it. So it's like a family saga woven in between two pivotal times. Like, I feel like come to class. We're going to work on this. And Matt, you too.
Revolutions.
There you go.
A lot of revolutions
my pitch
happening.
was like, I'm outlining something new. It's the pitch.
Well, that's okay. You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
I started outlining it, and I don't know if you've fallen to this. It's not a trap. I think it's good I did it, but like I'm like, let me just do like a good 2-page just overview for now. And then it ended up being like an 18-page chapter by chapter, like summary of what I'm going to do.
But that's okay. That's good.
Yeah, because the first book I wrote after a very, very long hiatus of not writing fiction, I did it in NaNoWriMo, and I didn't outline it. I'm like, I know what the beginning, middle, end is, and I just wrote it, and it worked out fine that way because it was a smaller scope of a story that takes place mostly in one day, and it worked. But this is sort of light sci-fi, Spielberg-esque, like Interstellar, Chris Nolan type of fun action, or a fun sci-fi action. So this one I needed to actually outline. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think every book is different. Like I always say this, like I'm not a parent, so I should probably don't totally understand the analogy, but I still use it. That like every kid, you're probably like a different parent. Like it's not like, oh, I've had a kid before. This one's going to be easy, right? Like I don't know,
Yeah.
but like it seems like every kid is like its own adventure. And so I feel like people are always like, oh, it must be easy. You've written so many books. And I'm like, no, every single one is its
No.
own hassle, its own thing I have to figure out, its own like love affair, right? Like it's all
Oh, and
because
different market considerations and audience
everything. It's
considerations. And
brand
yeah.
new. It's
Yeah.
like the only difference between like book one and book seven is like by book seven, I know I'll survive and it will be good at some point. Like I have the confidence that I
Mhm.
will do it, but I
Yeah.
don't know how to do it any better necessarily.
Yeah. And as
Yeah.
somebody who has multiple kids, I 100% agree
Is that
with you.
true?
Each kid
Okay,
is,
good.
yes, each kid is totally different.
Yeah.
Their tolerance for your input is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, some of them are like, oh yeah, mom, I really want your advice. And some of them are like, yeah, no, I'm fine.
Wow.
I got
Yeah.
this. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so you have to pivot. It's
So you're a
and
I,
different parent
knowing
for
what I
each child.
know, I would guess that your son is the one that wants your advice and your daughter is usually the one that doesn't.
actually no, it's kind of the
Is it the
opposite.
opposite?
He's
Oh, okay. All right.
but also too, here's the other thing. If you want to keep the analogy going, parenting a younger child, that same child is very different. And when they're older, like, so it's like the different drafts. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like our daughter was so independent, like, and she still is very independent, but she'll seek out my advice. And like my son was very attached. He and I were super, super close when he was little. And now he's like super independent. And I always like, we have this joke that the only time my phone rings and it's him, it's something bad happened. Like I like freak out.
Oh
We text
no.
each other, but like if he
He
calls me,
calls.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit. And so now he started doing this every once in a while. He hasn't done it often enough, but every once in a while he'll call me and he'll be like, just wanted to tell you I love you, mom. And he laughs because it's
That's
like,
sweet.
he's like, did I scare you? Like he kind of like got a little joy out of scaring the shit out of me. But
If I did that to my mother, she'd be like, she would think I'm on the precipice of a cliff about to commit suicide or something terrible is about to happen. Well, that's nice.
yeah.
What a nice nugget to end with.
Yes, books are like kids and kids are like books.
Speaking of the
Yeah.
precipice of death, the unexpected afterlife of Salon Rose, coming soon. Actually, by the time people listen to this, it will have
Yeah.
already been released.
Can we say the subtitle because it's my
Sure.
favorite part of it. So it's The Unexpected Afterlife of Salon Rose is the title and the subtitle is A Coming of Age While Dead Story. And that
Oh,
I like even more than the title. Because it says it's my
duh.
log line.
Yeah.
It is. It really lets people know, oh, yeah, I want
That's
to
what
read
that
this.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Instead
you.
of these random titles that you're like, what is this even about?
I had some
No,
of those before I
yeah.
had this one.
Yeah.
No, it's an elegant title to match the what I think is so far. Again, I will finish it. I didn't get it in for this podcast. It's YA and it has a voice to it and it's a teenage voice, but it's elegantly written. You know, it's
Thank
not
you.
like it doesn't feel schlocky like you see it with a lot of YA titles. I won't name names, but
Thank you.
uh,
I'm going to ask you for a blurb, Matt. It's going to be not schlocky.
not
And then-
schlocky. Matt.
I mean,
just my
that's
first
a vote
name.
of confidence. Yeah, it's your first name.
Right.
I love it.
The Story Will Save You is a Pipeline Artists original podcast. Like, subscribe, and follow us on social media at Pipeline Artists and at Book Pipeline. For more information, visit pipelineartist.com and bookpipeline.com, where we have contests for unpublished manuscripts as well as for published books that would make great adaptations for either film or television. Learn more about our efforts to help writers find publishing success on bookpipeline.com. Until next time, let the story save you.